welcome everyone. I'm Mary Isa. I'm the Executive Director of NAMI Johnson County, and I welcome you to today's Lunch and Learn. I'd like to introduce our speakers to everyone. We have Sarah Ross joining us, the Program Director of Compeer. She has background in nonprofit administration and direct client services. She's passionate about Compeer's mission to reduce loneliness and isolation for people living with or in recovery from a mental illness diagnosis by matching them with volunteers to build a supportive friendship. So welcome, Sarah.
Well, thanks for having us. I love spreading the word about Compeer, and Margalee's also here with me. Many of you probably already know Margalee. Margalee's been a part of Compeer for more than 20 years, or at least 20 years. And so after my presentation, Margalee will introduce herself a little more and talk about her experience with Compeer. And then we're open for questions as well. And then Margalee, do you want to just say just briefly?
Yeah, my name is Margalee Warner, and I was one of the people who wrote letters in support of Compeer when we were trying to get the program off the ground about over 20 years ago. And I served on the board for 20 years, and I also had the wonderful fortune to be matched to some wonderful volunteers. And I've been with my current match for about 10 years now. We just do ordinary things that friends do. We go out to lunch. We go out for a drive in the country. We celebrate birthdays together. And soon she'll be coming to my book launch party.
That's great. Compeer, mental wellness starts with friendship. So Mary mentioned our mission is to reduce loneliness and isolations of people living with or in recovery from mental illness. And we do that by matching them with a volunteer from the community and supporting them and having a one-on-one friendship. Compeer we are a local affiliate of a national organization that started out east in Rochester, New York in 1973. And that program it was very different than what it is now. So over time, it changed to what it is now. And we started in 2003, so about 20 years ago. We're the only Compeer program in Iowa, and we're one of only 2 Compeer programs west of the Mississippi. So the Compeer model is recognized as a best practice for recovery by the American Psychological Association, and it's also on the SAMHSA Registry of Evidence-Based Programs and Practices. And we'll see some statistics a little later. From the very beginning of the program, the woman who started the program knew it would be important to have statistics to show that the program was effective and supported people in being well and staying well. And so we gather statistics every year about people's experience. So I'm going to switch, and we're going to hear just right off from a Compeer participant and a Compeer volunteer. And these are very short videos, but I thought they'd give a flavor right away of what a match is like.
I live with anxiety. Sometimes it's hard for me to get out and enjoy life. This is Rhonda. We connected through Compeer Rochester. I can always count on her to be there when I need a friend. Me and Rhonda have a lot in common. We helps me stay calm when I get overwhelmed. We do things that we both love, like shopping, walking along the canal, and trips for ice cream. You can be a friend for somebody in Rochester that needs one. To be a friend is a CompeerRochester.org.
So both of these videos were made by Compeer Rochester. It's a huge Compeer. They have a lot of resources. However, the videos describe really exactly what Compeer is and what we do. So now we're going to see a same short testimonial like that from Rhonda's match.
I'm Rhonda. I'm a retired nurse and helping people.
And Chris is
part of who I am. This is Chris. She spent her whole life caring for people too. But Chris lives with anxiety, and it'd be hard for her to get out of the house, knowing everything she loves about Rochester. Chris is an amazing person. Just needs a friend to turn to for support sometimes. That's where I come in. Chris and I go out for lunch, take walks along the canal, go to concerts together. Every time we get together, we get to know each other a little better. And I can see the positive impact our time has had on our life and mine. Sometimes the life you change, but to your own. To be a friend is at CompeerRochester.org.
So there's 3 essential components of the Compeer model. One is that the participants are referred by a mental health professional. The volunteers are screened and trained, and then the Compeer staff are available to provide support. So the participants are referred by somebody that they're working with. They're actively engaged in recovery, whatever that means for them. And we ask that they be seeing a therapist at least once a month. And then the therapist makes the referral and agrees to support the match and the friendship as needed. Volunteers are screened and trained, so they consent to a criminal background check. We check references, and then they also receive a training from us, which focuses a lot on communication and boundaries. Volunteers need to be 18 years or older. I talked about some of this. And then the ask is that people are available to spend up to 4 hours a month with their Compeer friend, ideally with in-person interactions. So the role of the volunteer is really to offer a consistent opportunity to connect, to listen to their friend, to model good boundaries, and to just build that friendship and share with their friend the things they appreciate and enjoy about them. They're not there to provide any kind of mental health assistance. They're really a friend. And that's a part of why we ask that people have a therapist, so that they're getting support around that part of their experience. If people are interested in volunteering, they either attend a volunteer info session or meet one-on-one with me. Then they'll submit a volunteer application. I run the background check and call the referrals. Then we do an intake interview, and then we put them through the volunteer training, and then they're ready to be matched. So Compeer staff provides support. So I'm available to support the participant and the volunteer as the friendship develops. Initially, it can be a little bit awkward to meet your match. It's a different way of meeting a friend. And so that can feel a little awkward. And so I'm there to support people through that first meeting, and also the first couple weeks or couple months as you're slowly getting to know each other. I'm available if you want to call and say, I'm not sure if this is going well, or, help me figure out what to do about this. And then I'm there to support both parties. And then if needed, we can reach out to the referring mental health professional. So here's just like a little graphic of kind of what the support system looks like. So here's some statistics for people who are interested in that kind of thing about who we serve. And this focuses on age and gender. So our volunteers right now average about 59 years old. That's starting to change a little bit. We're getting some people like in their 30s and 40s. But a lot of times, because of people's working life, being able to make this kind of volunteer commitment comes later in life. Our participants also average age 52 years old. That's also starting to change. We're definitely getting referrals for participants in their 30s and 40s. And then gender, the majority of people referred to the program are women, and the majority of volunteers are women. So that can create a challenge for us, because when we get male referrals, they sometimes will wait longer to be matched, because we have to work harder to get male volunteers. So Phil, just a heads up, and we can talk about that more, you and I, later if you'd like. So who we serve in terms of diagnoses. I always like to remind people of the obvious, that everyone's mental health journey is unique and no one is just a diagnosis. But some people find this information helpful in terms of understanding who the program serves. So almost all of our participants have multiple diagnoses, and I don't think that's unusual at all. We serve about 50% of folks have depression or dysthymia, and then another 50% have a secondary diagnosis of anxiety, OCD, or ADHD. And then other primary diagnoses and secondary diagnoses include the list here. And most participants have complex, persistent, acute diagnosed illnesses and are living their best lives with, navigating all that. And Compeer, wants to be a part of that support system. So demonstrated best practice, here's where we'll see some of those statistics. So this are Compeer, the National Compeer organization surveys all 30 plus affiliates in the US. And so each affiliate sends out a survey to all of their participants and all of their volunteers. So this is across all 30 affiliates. These are the responses of the adult participants. So 97% say Compeer's helped them. As you can see, it's like over 90% for most of these positive outcomes. And 47% of clients reported reducing mental health hospitalizations, and 30% reduced use of crisis services. So we all know that our social networks and our social connections are a big part of our well-being. That's true for everybody. And so I think you can see that here with the impact Compeer has on folks, having another friend who's not a part of a medical model. They're really just a friend. They're not there as a therapist or anything, can make a really positive impact on people. So if you're interested in referring or being referred, we ask that participants are 23 years old, that your primary diagnosis is a mental health disorder, that you're actively engaged in recovery, whatever that means for you. We do ask that you're seeing a therapist once a month, and that participants are in a place where they're not verbally or physically aggressive and not having thoughts of harm to self or others. And then to refer, all of the documents are on our website. And so if you're a professional who wants to refer, you can download the form, print it out, fill it out, scan it, and then email it back to us. You can send it through the regular mail if you want. You can also download the form. It's like a Word document, so you could fill it out on your computer and then save it and then upload it again to the Compeer website. So we have a couple of different avenues for making that referral. And then how we make matches is, so I'll receive the referral, and then I reach out directly to the client to talk with them, answer any questions they have about Compeer and how it works, and then confirm that they're interested in being matched. And then we'll schedule an intake interview. So we do an intake interview with both the participant and the volunteers. And that's a getting to know you interview, like we're making a match. So it helps us to know what are some shared interests. So we do an interest inventory with both parties. And we all know that the strongest foundation for a successful friendship is having shared interests. And so we match people based on making sure they've got 2 or 3 shared interests. We also ask questions about sort of like lifestyle and points of view, like, is your spiritual or religious life important to you? Would you want to be matched with somebody who had those same perspectives, or would you be okay being matched with somebody who had a different outlook on that area? So we ask some questions like that because we want to make sure there'll be some basic compatibility. So, so we do that intake interview. After the interview, the client's placed on a wait list until a match is found. When clients are on the wait list, they can participate in other Compeer activities. So we offer a monthly support group, facilitated support group, and we also offer quarterly social events. And so waitlisted folks are welcome to attend, invited and encouraged to attend those. We're typically able to match folks within 3 to 5 months of being referred. As I mentioned earlier, it might take longer to match a male referral. So we're really trying to work on that. And then we don't match first come, first serve, right? Because we're trying to match with shared interests and some compatibility. So so I look through my pool of volunteers and the incoming referrals and see if it looks like there's a good match there, and then move ahead from that basis. So I talked about this. We always match same gender. We look for shared interests, also availability. You know, both parties may be working, one party may be working. So we want to make sure that schedules match up enough that people will be able to connect. And then if there's any other specific requests or needs identified by either the volunteer or the client, we'll take those into consideration. Ways you can support Compeer is by volunteering to be a friend. We also have volunteer opportunities to help out with our quarterly social events and a need for occasional transportation. You could support Compeer by joining our board. We're definitely looking for new board members to support the organization and keep us moving forward. We meet monthly, and we look for people who've got some interest or passion or skills related to the mental health community, as well as if anybody has previous experience on a board, that's super helpful. You can help us spread the word. So tell your friends about Compeer if you're just learning about us, or if you're not ready to volunteer as a friend, maybe somebody's popping into your mind. You're like, oh, this might be their cup of tea. Mention us to them, especially men. If you're aware of any men who would value building a one-on-one relationship, supportive relationship with somebody, that would be wonderful to let them know about Compeer. And they can call and talk to me, completely no obligation, just to learn more about it. We also love presenting to community groups. So if you're a member of a church or another civic group, anybody, and I can customize the presentation to your group. So that's a wonderful way for us to get the word out. And then also you can make a donation to the program. So we are funded by hundreds of individual donors, a couple of local churches, and some civic organizations. I am the primary expense for Compeer. I'm the only paid staff, and I work part-time. And we'd love to increase our staff capacity to support the program in being able to grow, make matches faster, do more volunteer recruiting, that kind of stuff. So here's some pictures of Compeer in action. These are pictures from different social events, those quarterly social events I mentioned. We do pencil puzzles. Sometimes we'll play bingo. One of our board members is a wonderful musician and plays piano for us. We might have a presentation at a social event to learn about an issue, or someone may be sharing a travel experience they've had. Sometimes we eat. We definitely try to keep a focus on healthy snacks. We don't want to come and just be eating cookies and candy and stuff. So we'll have veggies and crackers and cheese. This is a holiday gathering from a couple of years ago where we actually have a holiday meal. So thanks for listening. If you have questions, you can reach out to me. Compeer's on the internet. You can email me at compeeric@gmail.com. And thanks for your attention. I just love this last picture. There we all are. That was our holiday party last year. So folks really enjoy hanging out when we get together. All right, let's see. Stop. All right. So Marguerite, do you want to say a little bit more about your experience? And then we're open to questions from anybody.
Sure. I was first aware of Compeer, I think it was in 2003. My friend June Judge told NAMI Johnson County about her good experience starting Compeer chapters in other parts of Iowa. I remember she gave me a video that I played to my father, and we were both just enamored of it. What a great idea, connecting people in friendship. There's so many of my peers who are lonely and would just have a better life if there was someone with them on the journey. And I was doing a radio show about Compeer when a listener called the station and said, I want to be her volunteer. And so we were matched. And I can't overestimate the positive impact of just doing ordinary things that, quote, normal people do, that a person's isolated by mental illness may not get to do as often. Going out for lunch, going for rides in the car, support when I had physical health problems. He took me to a lot of doctor's appointments. And I just long to have more volunteers because I know a lot of people who could benefit from a volunteer. And Sarah's been a really good director for us.
Thanks, Margalie. I know some questions that often come up is, do we match different ages? So what's the age, sort of the age gap or the age range in people who are matched? So the answer is we do match different ages. We really only take age into consideration if either the volunteer or the participant have said that that's important to them to be matched with somebody who's not more than 10 years older than them or 10 years younger than them. But generally, we haven't found matching across an age gap to be an issue, because what's true for everybody is having shared interests is really the best foundation for building a friendship. And because that's our primary focus when we're making a match, typically people share those interests and those activities they enjoy doing together and can build a friendship even when there is an age difference. And actually it can be fun and interesting to get to know somebody who's in a different age group than you, because our society we generally relate to people in our same age cohort. And so it's actually kind of interesting and mind opening to connect with someone who's in a different age group if you've got some things in common.
One of my matches, I got to celebrate her 100th birthday.
That's great. Other questions that come up are like, what kinds of things do you do together? So Margalie mentioned some of the things that she does with her volunteer, with her match, and you've been matched for how long now with your match?
Bella, about 10 or 11 years.
So I'll talk about the kinds of things people do, and then we'll talk about how long the match lasts. So people, once you're matched with your friend and you know what some of your shared interests are during the match meeting, that's something we talk about. So you know that about each other. Then you get in touch with each other each week and kind of decide what you want to do. You might walk your dog, you might run errands, you might just go to a coffee shop and visit, you might go to the library and work on a jigsaw puzzle. I mean, it's really up to you and your friend what you want to do and how you want to spend time. And so it's also a very flexible connection, both for, for the volunteer and the participant. They decide each week when to get together. So it's a different kind of volunteer commitment than a lot of others where you show up at every Tuesday at 9 a.m. and you volunteer for 2 hours or 3 hours. It's very different than that. It's much more flexible. And then, so the length of the match. So some of our matches just go on because there's some compatibility there. People get to know each other. They enjoy each other's company. They develop a rhythm and some patterns about the kinds of things they do together. And there's no reason to stop. And so they just keep going. So Margalie mentioned she's been matched for about 10 years. I think we've got someone else who's been matched for like 17 years. Other matches, one or the other of the people in the match may move out of the area, so the match may end for that reason. Or one or the other person's life circumstances may change, and now they don't have the time to continue the commitment. And so the match might end for that reason. So it's really all, it's up to each match to kind of decide what's going to work for them and what feels right for them around that length of match. Just so you know, when you volunteer or you're talking to people about volunteering, you're not making a lifelong commitment. The ask really is for that 1 year, and then it's up to you if you want to continue longer than that. Joanna, were you going to ask something?
I'm not sure how to ask this, but you mentioned that both the participant and the volunteer are they learn more about boundaries. And I know some people with mental illness, it's hard for them to leave their home. So anyway, does that fall into boundaries, like where you meet?
Yeah, that's a couple of questions rolled into one, I think. So we have our participants, there is no typical Compeer participant. So I cannot make any generalized statements about our participants. So some folks are hesitant to leave their home. They are more comfortable at home. And so they work that out with their matched friend. They maybe mostly meet in their home. So that can happen. Other people are comfortable going out, but they don't want to drive. So if their volunteer drives and they're comfortable with that, then the volunteer might be the person picking them up and dropping them off. So if they want to go out and do something in the community. Yeah, and so that's a piece of the volunteer training, and also when I talk with participants who are getting involved with the program, is knowing that when you're deciding together what you want to do this week, that you're listening to each other and taking each other's needs and, situations into account. Like I've been matched for about 3 years. And so, when I'll call my friend and say, hey, there's a music concert in the park, and I'm wondering if you'd like to go to that. And then, she'll say, it sounds like fun, but I get nervous around big crowds. So then I'll be like, oh, okay, well, we could do something else. And she'd be like, well, I might like to try to go. And then they're like, oh, okay, well, do you want to give me the high sign, or just say this is too much for me and we can just leave whenever it feels right for you, so you can do that kind of negotiating too. And so it's an opportunity too for the person who's got that anxiety. They're with somebody they know and trust, so maybe they want to take a little more of a risk. It's a safe way to do that. And so that's one of the things we talk about the volunteers, talk to them about is, being aware of what's going on for your friend, communicating with them about it, and really being willing to support them in the way that's going to feel comfortable for them. So you don't want, I don't want to be, oh, come on, it'll be fine, we'll just go, it won't be bad. So I don't want to do that, right? But I want to be like, well, we could sit on the edge. Would you want to try that? So I can do that, but I really want to follow the lead of my friend around those kinds of situations. And then, does that help answer your question a little bit, Joanna? Yeah, we really, in the training, the volunteer training, the main thing we're talking to our volunteers about is ask your friend. Talk to your friend about it. Find out what's going to work for your friend. Have those conversations about what feels comfortable. Share about yourself. Maybe we've got a volunteer who has a car and who's willing to drive, and they don't want to drive after dark. So then they share that with their friend. Well, I could go to an earlier movie because I don't want to drive after dark, right? So both parties bring their own needs and things that they need to negotiate about to the friendship. And so we support people in having those kinds of conversations with each other.
Sarah,
Yeah.
another, the way the volunteers benefit from the friendship, because it's really a give and take kind of thing. And I've heard from my volunteer matches that my friendship has enriched their life too.
Oh, it certainly is. It's definitely a two-way street. Like, I mean, I have people volunteering with Compeer because they would like more social contact, right? So here's this structured way they can connect with somebody. They like what a fantastic thing, you know, you're getting to know somebody. And I think it's really for both parties, you're getting to know somebody you probably otherwise wouldn't have met and wouldn't have gotten to know. And how many opportunities do we have in our life to sort of break out of the circle of people we usually relate to and we usually connect with? You know, not a lot. And so I think that's one of the nice things that Compeer offers volunteers and participants. It's really a chance to meet and get to know somebody, you know, you might not have met or gotten to know otherwise.
So are you saying then that what kind of boundaries do you talk about then?
So we talk about boundaries mainly in terms of like what I've already shared. Talk
Okay.
to your friend about it, right? Like, so do I like to be called on the phone or do I like to be texted? Please don't call me before 10 a.m. Please don't call me after 8 p.m. Please don't text me 5 times in a row. Like whatever is true for you, right? You got to talk to your friend about it. We talk about one of the boundaries we talk about initially is when you're first matched and getting to know each other, we strongly recommend and encourage that you get together outside of either person's home, if that's a possibility, because you're getting to know somebody, you're building trust, you're building a sense of like, do I want this person in my home? Will I feel safe? Will I feel safe being in their home? So that's just very common sense, practical approach. So we encourage people to do that. So that's a boundary issue, you know, and then as you get to know each other, you'll have more information to make a choice around, you know, do you want to be in somebody's home and what that would be like. It's mostly about around limits and setting limits, and then also having those conversations in a way that's really about listening and doing collaborative problem solving. Like my friend has let me know that like she feels anxious when she texts me and I don't text her back right away. And so we've talked about this a few times and now we're better at it. But when we were first matched, we talked about this a couple times. And so I had to let her know that um I don't look at my phone all the time. Every time I get a text, I don't read it right then. Like I might be working. I don't have a buzzer. Like, so I don't even know I got a text until I pick up my phone and look at it. And that's just how I use my phone. And so that helped her for me to explain that. And then, so we talked about, and I said, well, when I notice that you've texted me, I will text you back. I like won't put it off. I'll just text you back and say, hey, nice to hear from you, or I'm busy this afternoon, let's connect later. So that was like a problem solving conversation we had around that issue. And that helped her feel less anxious, like I'm not ignoring her or blowing her off, because she understands more how I relate to texting. And then I make an effort to reach out to her when I do get a text from her, just so she knows when I see the text, I reach out to her and say, hey. So that might be around phone calls, just other things that come up. And so just those kinds of conversations. I will answer this question. We do so people who want to be matched as a participant do need to be referred by a therapist. And so if that's you, you can talk to your therapist and say, hey, will you refer me to Compeer? Or you can call me and we can make a plan and I can walk you through that process to make sure, your therapist can get all the documents they need and so on and get that process started. And then I've even supported folks who were aware of the program but weren't seeing a therapist currently. And then, I mean, I don't have any special connections, but I can get on the APA, the American Psychological Association website with you and help, filter through the therapists and help you connect with somebody. So I'm happy to help people do that if that's an issue or concern. I know that insurance is sometimes an issue, and unfortunately, I don't have any, magical solutions for that. So people really advocate for themselves and navigate a lot of crap, a lot of stuff with the system, to get the services and resources they need. And I don't do that for you, but I can encourage you to do it. And then, when something's in place, then we can move ahead with, with the process. Thanks so much for your time and your attention. I'm happy to share about Compeer. And like I said, reach out to me if you want to just talk or learn more. Everything is completely no obligation. I just love sharing and getting the word out.
Thank you so much, Sarah and Margalie, for sharing about Compeer. We really appreciate all you do, and we look forward to everybody joining us next month for our next Lunch and Learn.
Thanks, Mary.
Have a good afternoon, everyone.